'Cause when it hurts so good, you know you're doing what you should. Hello, lovely listener, and thank you for joining me here today in your here and now. Thank you for coming into this space with me. Here we are, and here we will always be. I've already confused myself. Have I confused you yet? Who am I? I'm Dr. Mac. I'm Mackenzie. I'll be your host in this journey on Hertz So Good, where we will be discussing mind-body connection in every direction. As a chiropractor, that is what I do. It's my job to help people with their bodies. For the most part, that's what they expect from me. They come in complaining, there's pain here, this doesn't work right. And I'm joking about it. I don't take any of it lightly. And I've been a chiropractor for about 10 years now. I'm just coming up on 10 years. And the more I've worked with humans and their bodies, the more I have really deeply felt that I cannot help anyone with their body if their mind is not also getting better and healthier. We cannot separate these two things. We can generally intuitively feel mind and body, they're going to affect one another. You know, if you're in a really bad mood, maybe you notice you feel a little more aches and pains that day. And if you wake up feeling really stiff and achy, maybe that's going to make you have a bad mood. And it becomes this cycle. As well as if I am feeling physically great, like, ooh, ease of movement, now I'm in a great mood, and vice versa. So we must address both. And I joke with my patients, I get a little annoying because, you know, they lay down on the table and they want me to fix them. And the older and wiser that I've gotten, I just start asking them questions that are a little provoking sometimes, but I'm like, listen, I'm only going to be able to help you along this journey, but you are the only one who can, quote unquote, fix yourself. And there is a methodology to it, which we're going to be breaking it down into. Breaking it down. I'm talking the mental gymnastics that you can train for to become a master athlete of the mind. Oh, yes. Because just like you take your body to the gym to work out your muscles and get stronger, you can take your mind to the gym and get stronger in your thinking. And what is going to the gym for your mind? Well, it could be reading high quality books, listening to high quality content from high vibrating people, meditation, sitting in stillness, focusing on your senses and the present moment. It could be listening to this podcast because we're going to be talking about how do we create positive thinking patterns, because your mind is a tool. You are so much more than your mind. Your mind is just one aspect of your body and your consciousness, but it is a tool, and it's an incredible tool, just like your phone, just like your computer or, you know, fire, any other awesome tools that we're given in this life. And we can learn how to sharpen that tool and use it well. And I like to say sometimes, your mind is a tool. Don't let it make you one. Think about that. Don't be a tool of your own mind. Don't be a tool of society. You are the master. You're wielding the tools. Wielding? Welding and wielding. You can create them and then you can use them. So with that, we're living in this world, this seemingly concrete reality, and there's so much to perceive and experience, and we're just, you know, a single human in this form. So our mind is this filter system that everything in this whole big world is coming through. And great, it's an adaptation, it's a protective mechanism. If we were constantly like everything was coming in without a filter, it would be too much. So the mind allows us to focus in and pay attention to smaller fractions of this whole big world. And you can zoom in really, really close, or you could zoom out and have a very expanded view of the space you're in or life itself. The mind and thinking, it's like this interpreting machine. So a thing can happen, it's neutral, things happen. And then the mind, it's perceiving the thing, and it can either have a positive interpretation or a negative interpretation. And what I have found to be so useful for my life, for my happiness, is that I have been practicing positive interpretations for a quote unquote bad thing that might have happened. For example, I did something silly and something fell and hit my toe and it really hurt and I had a terrible black and blue. Am I just going to beat myself up for being stupid or careless? No, what's the point of beating myself up? I don't want to feel bad. Why would I make myself feel bad? So I'm like, well, my positive interpretation. I wasn't listening to my intuition as it was saying, don't put that thing there. It seems precarious. Not a good idea. But I didn't listen and I did it anyway. And then a thing happened. So it became another opportunity and reinforcement to remind myself, listen to your gut instinct. Listen to that intuitive little voice that says, do what you should. All right. Listen to the idea of what you should do because it's usually on point. So you see, this is how we can train ourselves. And we're going to be getting deeper and deeper into that. I'm just giving a big picture overview of what we're trying to accomplish here. And what are we trying to accomplish? Well, primarily to live our best lives. We all want to. We all want to live our life potential. And so while I'll be talking about things that are healthy practices for the body, for the mind, there's another level to be aware of. There's so many levels to reality. And so we're going to be oscillating between these different ways of understanding and viewing reality, and they can all be true all at once, far out. So there is the seemingly physical reality, this physical plane we're in, and the laws of physics and physical matter. And on this plane, there is definitely a distinct good and bad. And, I like to use these terms loosely because I think just by thinking something is bad, that makes it even worse. So maybe we just don't even give it a label. And what's actually more accurate would be to say that something is high frequency or low frequency without any judgment of good or bad. And what do I mean by frequency? Well, I'm glad you asked. That's why this show is called Hertz So Good, spelled Hertz. Hertz is how one measures frequency, and frequency is the measure of a vibration of a particle. Particles are atoms, neutrons, electrons, compound molecules, all of the physical matter of the earth that we're living in, this fabric of life, and every single particle is vibrating. And without getting too sciencey, it's something like the frequency is the number of times in 1 second it might vibrate, I think. In any case, high frequency generally feels good and strengthening. Low frequency, low vibration feels a little sluggish and weakening. So we're going to be using these concepts a lot here. Now, back to what I was saying about words and language. Because language is very powerful, and the words that we use are important. And I like to point this out. One of my favorite quotes that I've heard is, "Words cast spells. That's why they call it spelling." I don't know who said that, but very smart. And then there's this other quote I actually came across in my Moon Oracle card book that is, it was metaphysician Florence Scovel Shinn, who was alive from 1871 to 1940. And this person, Florence could have been a man or a woman, they said, "Your word is your wand. You create magic and your own reality every time you express yourself." Profound. And so we really must pay attention to the words that we're using, whether in our heads or expressed out in reality. If we're saying them to other people, words carry a frequency. If we understand this concept, then we want to be very careful by saying things like, I am in pain, or I suck, or I'm never going to get that, or, I don't even want to say these things to your ears, your precious ears and nervous systems, but just know that all of these things are false. And you know what? They could also be true if you manifest it. But so how about if we carry this power, let us say things that will empower us to live better lives. Like, instead of "I'm in pain," "I'm healing." My body is telling me something and I need to listen to it so that I can help it restore its natural, strong state. Rather than say, "I'm lazy," why not say, I've been low energy and I need to take more time to rest and take care of myself so that when I am restored, I will have more energy and I will be able to do all of the things that I want to do, or I'll even have the motivation to want to get up and do it. We can turn around any negative thought and create a positive thought to replace it. And we can become very good at this in our brains. You can train your brain to do this. This is what I've been working on for half of my life at this point. And I'm getting pretty good at it. Some might even say it's annoying. They want to complain to me. And I'm like, well, actually, look at this shiny silver lining over here. And they're like, I just wanted to complain. And I'm like, not to me. Nope, you're only going to get sunshine and rainbows over here. And then my part of my process is sometimes I just have to let people be and not push a silver lining on them, and just to hold space for them to feel what they're feeling. Because we also can't repress or suppress negative feelings. We have to feel them and allow the energy to dissipate. And this is how we can move and flow through life. That was quite the tangent, but very important one. Like, these are foundational concepts that we just want to keep bringing home, bring it in. But what we were talking about, what I was talking about, all my personalities, what is high vibration and low vibration, and how those vibrations could possibly affect you on the physical plane. So we have an example of food items, nutrition. Just imagine a nutritious, fresh salad with all organic vegetables from your local farm, grown sustainably. Let's compare that with like a cheeseburger from McDonald's. So one is seemingly better than the other. If one studies health and wellness, the salad's going to be better for you. It's going to have a better impact in your body. It's going to give you nutrients, make you stronger. And the cheeseburger might actually have some harmful effects. It might clog your arteries. It might spike your blood pressure. So this is one level of reality. Now, here's the thing. There's always a thing. So I've been reading this book called Letting Go by David Hawkins, and it is, I think, the best book I've ever read in my entire life. Nonfiction book. And this book is about health and healing and how to live one's best life. And I highly recommend it to absolutely everyone. So if you make your way through this book, you start to get toward the end where Dr. Hawkins is talking about frequencies. And he actually has this whole chart where he figured out the exact frequencies of each type of emotion that a human might have. And some are very low and some are very high. Can you guess what might be what? High frequency, it feels better. And, positive thinking, positive emotions generates higher frequencies, and lower negative emotions generates low frequencies. And we can very much feel the difference. Like if someone, a friend, an animal, like they just make you feel so good every time you see them. It's because they are at a very high frequency and that you are matching their frequency and you're able to vibe together, and it's delightful. And we're lucky to have those people and animals in our lives. So with that, Dr. Hawkins, brilliant doctor. He was a psychiatrist, PhD, and he was a genius of his time. I learned actually just this morning because my chiropractor was one of his students, and he read over 600 books a year throughout his life. He would just absorb information like a sponge, and then he was able to channel it through him from everything that he gathered and give his teachings. So I will be talking about him throughout our time here. So as he makes his way along in this book, and he's talking about what different emotions and frequencies will do for a person, he starts to explain how people at super high frequencies, frequency of love, of peace, unconditional love, the high frequencies will not be negatively affected by low frequency things, and i.e. cheeseburger. So someone who is at a high frequency of love and peace, and they are just filled up on that and it's emanating out of them, they can eat that cheeseburger and it probably, like most likely, will not have any harmful effect for them. And they'll probably get nutrients from it and everything will be good, and they're just going to be flowing in our reality. And if that is where you're at, then you don't need to listen to this podcast. You go do your thing and spread your light, because that is what the world needs, more people like you. That's very high vibration living, and that's my goal, is to live in that, get there, stay there. I've been, since I'm 20 years old, I'm turning 37 next week. Since I was 20, I've been reading about the mind and how to achieve these high states of consciousness. And side note, I'm trying to save you all of that time and just give it to you straight. This is what I've gathered from all the years, and it doesn't need to take that long. It's simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. It's not easy in this world that we live in. We are in a modern society, but even historic society wasn't easy. It's never been easy. But I suspect now it's easier than it's ever been before, only because we have had an accumulation of amazing teachers. We got Buddha, we got Lao Tzu, we got you, we got Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle and Esther and Abraham Hicks. We've got Jesus, we got Moses, and we got Muhammad. Everyone is included here. And you know what? I love all of these religions, all different, humans have used these as labels to separate themselves. All of the teachers were saying the same thing, we are one and we are here to love and take care of each other, to take care of our communities, to take care of the animals, the plants, to take care of our earth. And that is a very loving thing to do. And there are so many more teachers that I haven't listed, and there are more that I have not yet come across. But to all of them, a very heartfelt moment of gratitude for the works they put out into the world that we can now absorb and use to make our lives better. That's what evolution is all about. books like ones written by Dr. Hawkins that explain it all to us. So we can very much, as the quote says, stand on the shoulders of giants and see much further than anyone has ever seen before, because we have this great abundance of brilliant works to learn from and absorb and apply. So, what am I getting at here? On this podcast, where we're talking about mind-body connection in every direction, I'm certainly going to be getting into good nutrition and good movement habits and great, lifestyle habits, things that they do feel important. They've been important to me. And I think I was trying to hash this out with my chiropractor, Dr. Scott, earlier, because I'm like, can both things be true? Can it not matter and it matter? So what I suspect is that in order to get to these high frequency states where the stuff doesn't matter, the external stimuli, the cheeseburger doesn't matter, in order to get to these highest consciousness frequency states, I think we have to do the healthy things, because I think a healthier, more clear body is going to be more receptive to the high frequencies. And it's going to actually, the body itself, the physical body will be vibrating at a higher frequency. This is all just theories and conjecture that I am just figuring it out as I go along. And if this is totally confusing, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It'll all be clearer in the end. And if it's not clear, it's not the end. So from this point forward, on this particular episode, I'm going to get into a whole spiel on stress, because we all know it. We've all felt it. We all got it. And what can we do about it? When I work with humans, that's mainly what I work with, who I work with. One day I hope to work with animals, but that's another story, another episode. But, and humans are animals, don't get me wrong, human animals very much. But humans are a different kind of animal, because humans have this mind thing, humans, and maybe animals have some form of that mind, but humans certainly have the most developed mind. Our frontal lobes of our brains evolved in such a way where we're able to have this mind, and we can have meetings of the minds where our minds can communicate with one another, and we have formed a language and all of these means to connect or disconnect from each other. And we've built societies and so many structures, and what a wild, amazing world we're in here. And there's a whole lot of light. There's so much light. And of course, there's darkness. But you can't really have the light without the darkness, can you? Contrast. I was watching Bob Ross channel, and I'm so grateful that's a thing. It's just episode after episode of Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting. And talk about high vibration human. It just makes me very relaxed to have him in the space and creating his beautiful works of art. So as he is creating this beautiful oceanscape, he says in his very chill voice, I'm going to try to do it, gotta have plenty of dark in there to let that light shine through. How'd I do? But really think about that. He's talking about creating the look of these ocean waves, and he's laying in this dark paint because he wants the highlights of the waves to pop that much more clearly. And very concrete example of a very conceptual idea, and that's how life works. There's different levels in operation all at once, but it's very clear. We need darkness to enhance the brightness, because if we didn't have this contrast, it would all be gray and we would have trouble differentiating everything. And so with that, to our problems, our struggles and challenges, we say, thank you. Thank you for creating contrast to make the light and the joy of my life that much brighter. One of my favorite sayings is, that's a Buddhist phrase, no mud, no lotus. Through the mud, the lotus flower blooms, and through our struggles, we bloom as humans. Okay, so we were talking about stress and how to address it. A conversation I have a lot with patients is, you can do all the healthy things, quote unquote healthy things in the world. You can eat the cleanest diet, all organic food. You can exercise every day. You can hydrate. You can get your 8 hours of sleep, all of that. But if you don't have a healthy mind, a healthy mindset, an ability to slow down your thinking, if you have a very, very busy mind that's constantly thought after thought after thought, I'm sorry, but you just can't be the healthiest version of you because your mind will always get in the way. A busy mind that's constantly spewing out thoughts and then a human consciousness that is hearing all of those thoughts and identifying with them and thinking those thoughts are them, that will limit your growth potential. That will limit your life potential. And in the most basic sense, it will be flooding your body, your whole system with stress. It doesn't even matter if the thoughts aren't that stressful thoughts, oh no, all these things I got to do. Just perpetual, constant thinking, it does add stress to the body, and even in this moment now, you're listening, so maybe you're not flooded with thoughts, but if you just take a moment to take a breath into your belly, ideally, not with your chest rising and falling, but a nice slow deep breath filling up the belly area, and then letting that exhale come naturally, letting your shoulders drop with the exhale, with your mind's attention kind of just dropping into your body. What does that mean? Can you feel the feelings in your feet? Can you feel your feet? Can you feel your legs? Can you feel your hips? Can you feel your hands? Can you feel your shoulders? We've got all these body parts. There's this whole universe of a body down below our heads. And the more we can drop into our body and just step out of the mind, drop into the body, then we are starting the process of unwinding the stress we have been winding into our body all of these years. And we start this process of bringing ourselves into parasympathetic rest and digest mode. And that is one of the two modes of our nervous system. Our nervous system, something I talk a lot about as a chiropractor. And a part of this show, we will be talking a lot about chiropractic because I love chiropractic. I think it's a beautiful profession and a way in to human healing. And there are so many different ways someone can be a chiropractor, but chiropractic is so much more than cracking joints and getting noise to come out of a spine. That might happen somewhere in the process, but that is not the shining brightness of chiropractic. In the best version of chiropractic, we are working with the human nervous system or animal nervous system. And the nervous system is composed of your brain, your spinal cord, and all of the nerves coming off of your spinal cord, and your brain. We have cranial nerves too. So that is the electrical system of the body, just like the electrical system of a house where, you can turn on the lights, you can operate all of the plugins and the outlets, all the power that you might need to power all the things comes through the electrical system, the nervous system. And how magnificent, and your brain is kind of the controlling commander telling all of the body parts to do its things. And, the body parts has their own brilliant intelligence and, we don't need to get too complicated in that. But to keep the nervous system very simple, we have two modes of operation of our nervous system. We have sympathetic mode. Sympathetic mode is fight or flight mode, is stress mode. It's the gas pedal. It's go, go, go. Get out of here. Survive. And then we have parasympathetic mode. And in parasympathetic mode, we call that rest and digest mode, or feed and breed mode, or healing mode. And that's the brake pedal. That's the slow down, take a breath, relax. There's no urgency. There's no fire. There's no wild beast chasing you. It's all good. And here's the amazing thing and the strange thing is that now in modern humanity, more than ever, we actually have the privilege of being able to mostly operate in the parasympathetic rest and digest mode. Because how lucky are we that in this point of human history, for the lucky people who might live in a part of the world where things are stable and safe, okay? I won't discount. There are other people in other situations, but I'm speaking to my experience and the experience of most of the people that I work with and know. Very calm, stable lives. You know, maybe we have some calamities happen, but like for the most part, like we've got it really good. We don't need to worry about, you know, a bear coming at us into our cave. We don't need to worry about where's our next meal coming from. We don't need to worry about where am I going to live? Where am I going to stay the next week? Like, we got it so cush. So there's that. Now, 2 side notes here. Firstly, I find this all very exciting that in this moment of history, human beings actually have the opportunity to evolve, to actually become a different kind of animal, I hate to say superior, but we're going to be elevating and expanding in our ability to live and how we do so. So awesome. We don't need to be in survival mode anymore. We can thrive. Now, where is the difficulty? Side note is that our human minds were wired, you know, the brain wiring many thousands of years ago to look for what's wrong because we need to survive. So our mind is always looking for, oh, is someone going to get me? Something's out there. So we have to retrain the mind to look for what's right. And as all the latest neuroscience studies show, neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to adapt and rewire, is what can happen and what will happen if we wire it in. Fire it to wire it, as they say. With that, the modern human condition, this is what's going on. People are operating in the sympathetic fight or flight stress mode. Huh, isn't that interesting? We have the potential to all be in the healing mode, and yet we're all in stress mode. Now, what can we do about this? We can do so much about it. Now, why are we in stress mode? We'll start there. Now, what puts us in stress mode? In chiropractic, they say there's 3 different forms of stress. There's physical stress, mental, emotional stress, and chemical stress. So, physical stress. Well, I suppose we are placed under the physical stress of many of us have desk jobs. We're sitting at desks all day in front of a computer screen, or we're looking down at phones all day. Now, that is a repetitive stress on our bodies. The body's not meant to be sitting for hours. It's not meant to be looking at a screen with the head jutting forward, cutting off oxygen to the brain and, you know, reversing the cervical curve, giving you tech neck. Tech neck, you shouldn't bend so much that way. Tech neck, so many hours of the day. Oh yes, be prepared. There will be jingles interspersed throughout the entirety of this show. I can't help myself, nor should I. So that is a repetitive stress that we're placing a lot of tension on our spinal cord, on our spine, and thus on our nervous system. This is one of the main reasons why I decided to choose the medium of podcast, because I do not want to be another reason that people are looking at their phone screens more. I want, if someone's going to be listening to this, listen while you're going for a walk, listen while you're doing yoga, listen while you're tending to your plants, but don't look at the screen. Can I spiel or can I spiel? Other forms of physical stress. We're driving in cars now. Driving a car, that could be a bit stressful. And aside from the asymmetry of we're using, our right leg for the gas pedal and, we get in different positions, like the bumpy vibrations of the road, That's a physical stress. Beyond that, you know, I'm sure I can think of more, but you get the idea. Shout out to all of the people who have had to deal with big traumas, macro traumas as we call it, broken bones, sports injuries, car accidents, slips and falls, mishaps, whatnots. I mean, through our lifetime, we can accumulate these things. Even the birth process for a human can be traumatic with a lot of force. Having siblings, rough housing, that can be trauma. Carrying a heavy backpack as a little, kid that's still developing, trauma. Now, our body is very forgiving and resilient, and we can heal from these things, but we have to do the right stuff. Chemical stress. Our modern day food supply is not what food once was. And like a vegetable now is very much nutrient depleted compared to a vegetable 50 years ago. And this has to do with modern farming practices. And I'm not going to say this is in every case true, that if you have your local farmer's market or your CSA and you get your locally grown vegetables and fruits, like maybe they're nutrient abundant. But for the masses, a lot of people are just buying fruits and vegetables at the grocery store. Even if they're doing that, like a lot of people are getting processed frozen foods and a bunch of other crap. Pardon my language, but this is an adult show. And so most people are not nourishing their bodies. That is a big chemical stress because we're not getting the raw materials that we need. Chemical stress of like pollution in the environment. Can't do anything about that, for the most part, unless you're an environmental scientist and, in the politics. But, that's the world we live in, and that's okay because our bodies are really resilient and strong. But we must take control of the things that we can take control of. And one of them is what we feed our body, the food, the drink. So speaking of the drink, drinking too much alcohol, chemical stress, doing too many drugs, chemical stress, that. And then mental emotional stress. I mean, need I say more? Too much information, constant information coming in at the modern human, whether it is through social media scrolling, whether it's through the news. There is a bombardment of information coming at a human brain. And unless you're really good at boundary setting, that will affect you. Now, I'll say this right now. I don't watch the news. I live under a rock. I like to think of it as a big old pretty crystal. But I try to keep my focus on my world that I can influence. And if there is some big news I got to know about, like someone's going to tell me, patient's going to tell me, parent's going to tell me. So I don't want to expose my nervous system to any of the like erratic, stressful energy swirling in the ether of modern society. What else? Mental stress, isolation. I have been speaking a lot about this with people, how a sense of community, social connection, there might not be any more important factor in human health. It is so vital for our brains to be in connection with other humans and to have your sense of community, wherever you are, whatever it might be. So these are all topics we're going to be diving deeper into, but that's a nice little summary for now. All right, we're coming in for a landing. So in summary, Hertz so good. Hertz is referring to how one measures frequency, but also most definitely we are doing a little play on words with the saying, it hurts so good, like John Mellencamp style. And this is very relevant to my everyday practice. Often I talk to people, patients, when I'm working on them, like you got to feel it to heal it. It hurts so good. Now, sometimes we'll refer to that when we're doing like some deep tissue muscle work. We're releasing a trigger point that it feels so tight. And like when you press on it, it hurts, but it's like a good hurt. And then the pain starts to fade away. And then it's like, wow, that hurt so much like 20 seconds ago. And now it feels like nothing. And it's so loose. And I'm like, That's the magic. We have to sit with the discomfort often to get to the other side of ease and peace and freedom. And if we don't sit with the discomfort, if we don't deal with what hurts, then we're just going to be pushing it down deeper into us. We can ignore it. We can distract ourselves and go into something else. But the body remembers everything. And so whether it's in the physical body or it's in the mind as an emotion, it still holds an energy. And if we just keep suppressing and pushing these things down, we get clogged, we get blocked. Now we cannot be an open vessel channel for source to come through, for spirit to come through. And like, that sounds real woo-woo, but like, I'm a creative, okay? And I've read some books on creativity, and all of the wise creators, the successful wise creators, they say that creativity, an idea, a spark of creative, it's not coming from them. It's coming through them. And we have to be open vessels, and they're present waiting for that spark. We have to show up, and then it can come through. And I'll get into some of these books. Currently, I'm reading The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin, and I can't stop talking about this book. And I love Rick Rubin. What an amazing human. I love you, Rick Rubin. I've experienced this as very true in my life. In the past 3 months, I've been working on clearing myself, on experiencing whatever feelings I have to feel, on eliminating certain behaviors that were clogging me. And all of a sudden, I'm getting creative ideas. I'm writing songs. I'm noticing connections and synchronicities everywhere. Strangers are coming up to me and helping me because I needed them. And I'm experiencing real life magic. And it's very exciting. And I tell my coworkers, I tell people about like, oh my God, this happened. And they're like, oh my God, like this always happens to you. And I just want them to understand. I want everyone to understand this is not a me thing. This is a human being thing. And we all have this capacity to experience magic and to attract magic into our lives and get ideas and express ourselves creatively. We all have this power as human beings. But we must make sure that we are clear, that we're not avoiding or suppressing or distracting from anything. And we have to make sure that we're healthy, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all the things. We have to be healthy. So when we are our healthiest selves and we're clear, magical things happen. And that's what this show is all about. How do we bring the magic into your life? Well, here we are. And I want to thank you for joining me on this magical journey. And we're going to make more magic in all of our lives. So to close out this first episode, I will be, of course, ringing that singing bowl, which has been a nice segue tool. And I have this tuning fork. And this tuning fork is set at 128 Hertz, which happens to be the key of C. And I looked up online. It says the 128 Hertz frequency is known for its calming and healing effects, particularly in promoting deep relaxation, pain relief, and supporting bone healing. It is often used in sound therapy to enhance energy alignment and alleviate muscle tension. Wow, cool. So whether or not that's actually true, I think that just knowing that it is said to be true, it might make it true for you. So whether real or placebo, we're going to be using these tools, and we can do that for anything in our physical reality. So in closing, enjoy these sounds as they take you back into your life, into your moment. You're already there. And I look forward to the next time. Sending you all love and light.